Unit 6. Diversity in Family Forms. 6.1 Introduction. Human society is an evolving society. Its structure has changed in response to environmental and economic conditions, from a hunter-gatherer society to an agricultural society to an urban society. The structure of the basic social unit of human society, which is the family, evolves in response to the changes that take place in society. In this unit, you will study the meaning of family and how it is different from a household. Reading about the traditional forms of family in India and the life cycle of household forms will help you get a better picture of families in the Indian context. This unit further introduces you to various alternate forms of Indian family, some of which already existed and some of which are emerging. You must have heard a lot about how the Indian joint family is breaking into a nuclear family. Is that really true? By the end of this unit, you will get an answer to this question also. Objectives. After studying this unit, you will be able to know the Indian family in different ecological contexts, describe the traditional forms of family in India, explain the family life cycle of household forms, recognize the alternate family forms and identify the characteristics and reasons for their formation, and discover whether the joint family in India is disintegrating or not. 6.2 Families in different ecological contexts. All of us live in families for most of the time in our lives. What comes to your mind when you read the word family? Grihasthi, household, kutum, joint extended family, parivar are some of the words that may come to mind. Before understanding the nature of family in India, let us first read some definitions of family. The family may be defined as a group of persons united by ties of marriage, blood adoption, but not necessarily constituting a single household, interacting and communicating with each other in their respective social roles. The members of the family may comprise husband and wife, mother and father, brother and sister, son and daughter, paternal uncle, aunt, niece, nephew, in-law relationships, or any other blood relationships. Family is universally accepted as the basic unit of society. While there is no universally accepted definition of family, there is a broad consensus about the role of family in society and the functions it should perform, namely procreation, socialization, providing affection, as well as emotional and economic support. As a biological unit, a family is composed of a man and a woman who have a socially approved sexual relationship and legitimate child or children. As a social unit, a family is defined as a group of persons of both sexes, related by marriage, blood, or adoption, performing roles based on age, sex, and relationship, and socially distinguished as making up a single household or sub-household. The word family has often been used as a synonym of household, but in reality, both have very different meanings. You might think, what is then the difference between a family and a household? 6.2.1 Family and Household. A household is one of the several dimensions of the family. A household is a residential unit which is A household is one of the several dimensions of the family. A household is a residential unit which is distinct from family. A household includes all the persons who occupy a housing unit. A housing unit can be a house, an apartment, a group of rooms, or a single room. The occupants may be a single family, one person living alone, two or more families living together, or any other group of related or unrelated persons who share living arrangements. These members may not necessarily be related in kinship terms, that is, they may be domestic help or temporary guests. For example, the Kumars are a close-knit family. Mr. Kumar lives in an apartment in Bangalore as he recently got transferred. Mrs. Kumar lives in Ahmedabad in a bungalow with their two school-going children. Mr. Kumar visits his wife and children once a month. They are constantly in touch with each other, especially when it is something important. They make it a point to be together on important occasions and festivals. The Kumars have two households, residents, but they are still very much one family. Mr. Suresh Yadav migrated to Delhi from Bihar to earn and support his family members, which include his parents, brothers and their wives and children, and his own wife. He lives in a slum in Delhi and shares his room with two other migrants from his village. Here, too, Mr. Yadav has two households but one family. So now you know that a family is a kinship unit. Even when the members of the family do not share a common household, the unit of family continues to exist as a sociological reality. 6.3 Traditional forms of family in India. 6.3.1 Forms of family and marriage. The basic unit of family is nuclear, which consists of a man, his wife, and their children, biological or adopted. Children of nuclear families are unmarried, and this type of family is generally financially independent of other families. Nuclear families are based on conjugal relationships. These families are of two types. One is in which a person is a procreator, and the other in which he is procreated. These are respectively called family of procreation and family of orientation. From the perspective of children, the family is a family of orientation. The family plays a major role in their enculturation and socialization. Enculturation is the process by which a person learns the requirements of the culture by which he or she is surrounded and acquires values and behaviors that are appropriate or necessary in that culture. Fig 6.1 Nuclear family. From the point of view of the parents, the family is a family of procreation, the goal of which is to produce and socialize children. For units larger than the nuclear family, various terms are used like stem family, joint family, and extended family. A stem family is a family consisting of the family of procreation of one married child linked with the family of orientation in one common household. For example, when a married son stays with his wife and children in the same house as his parents. When families of procreation of several married siblings are linked to their common family of orientation, they constitute a lineal family. It may happen that with the death of their parents, such a family may dissolve into a laterally extended family or individual nuclear families. An extended or a joint family is one in which 3 or more generations live together with both vertical and lateral extensions and have a single line of authority. Fig 6.2 Extended family. The two terms extended and joint are often used interchangeably. These families are based on consanguineous relationships. There appear to be significant regional differences in the prevalence of joint households. According to Pauline Calendar, 1968, the joint household is the strongest through a continuous belt across North India, and it is the weakest in South India. A modified extended family is a type of family which is nuclear in nature as far as the living arrangement is concerned, but joint or extended when we talk about the familial and kinship bonds. It is a typical family which is geographically apart from extended blood relations, but together in times of need and on special occasions. Similar to the family types, India has various types of marriage systems. As a social institution, marriage is a part of the family. The institution of marriage regulates the relationship between one or more men and one or more women and provides for the creation of family. The word monogamy refers to the marriage of one man with one woman at one time. Polygamy includes two systems, namely polygyny and polyandry. A polygynous marriage occurs when a man marries 2 or more women. Fig 6.3 Polygyny. This system was prevalent among the kings, royal families, village landlords, and strong males. Currently, this practice is prevalent in the Muslim community. A polyandrous marriage takes place when a woman marries 2 or more men. See Fig 6.4. Figure 6.4 Polyandry. The earliest reference to the practice is perhaps in the Mahabharata, where we find that Draupadi was the common wife of the 5 Pandav brothers. It was quite common among Khasis of Assam, Nayars of Kerala, Korg, Todas and Kotas of Nilgiri, and Khasas of Uttar Pradesh. Mulati, 1992. Polygyny obviously tends to strengthen man's dominion over woman, as compared to either polyandry or monogamy. Most marriages you come across today will be monogamous in nature. Certain rules of marriage, like endogamy, the rule enjoining marriage within a specified group, and exogamy, the rule prohibiting marriage within a specified group, are meticulously followed till today. In the rules for marriage partner selection, it is emphasized that the spouse must be from the same caste but a different clan. Marriage outside the caste is allowed following the principle of hypergamy, annuloma, and hypogamy, pratyloma. In the practice of hypergamy, the woman is married to a man of higher social status. This is known to exist widely among the Brahmins, Patidars, Marathas, Rajputs, Gujars, and Nambadiris. Hypergamy is one of the major causes of the increase in the practice of dowry. In the practice of hypogamy, the woman is married to a man of lower social. Here's the corrected text. In the practice of hypogamy, the woman is married to a man of lower social status. Isogamy refers to a practice where marriage takes place between status equals. A normal custom in Indian society is that after marriage, a young man and his wife begin their married life not in an independent household, but with the husband's parents. A patrilocal residence means residing with or near the patrilineal relatives of the husband. A matrilocal residence means residing with or near the mother of the wife. A avunculocal residence is either with or near the maternal uncle or with or near the male matrilineal kinsman of the husband. Neolocal residence is a place where the husband and wife reside, which is not determined by the kin ties of either. Virilocal means that the couple, husband and wife, resides with the husband's family members after getting married to each other. It is equivalent to patrilocal, but specialized to instances where the husband's patrikin are not aggregated in patrilocal or patrilineal kin groups. Uxorilocal means that the couple, husband and wife, resides with the wife's family members after getting married to each other. It is the opposite of the term virilocal. It is equivalent to matrilocal, but specialized to instances where the wife's mannequin are not aggregated in matrilocal and matrilineal kin groups. The terms virilocal and uxorilocal are better than the terms patrilocal, living with father, and matrilocal, living with mother, because they may mislead whose father or whose mother. Fig 6.5 Virilocal family. As far as the authority within Indian families is concerned, most Indian families are patriarchal in nature. Patriarchy is the structuring of society on the basis of family units, where fathers have primary responsibility for the welfare of, and hence authority over, their families. The literal meaning of patriarchy is the rule of the father or the patriarch. Originally, it was used to describe a specific type of male-dominated family. A large household of the patriarch would include women, wife and daughters, junior men, brothers and sons, domestic servants, or any other relatives staying with the family. Matriarchy is a term which is applied to a form of society in which the leading role is played by the female, especially the mother. A woman in a matriarchal society would be in a dominant position and control the state power, religious institutions, economic production, trade, etc. Patrilineal descent implies that the descent is reckoned exclusively through male links, and matrilineal descent is when the descent is reckoned exclusively through female links. Fig. 6 points matrilineal family. Therefore, children taking on last names of their father or sons inheriting their father's property imply a patrilineal descent, while matrilineal descent is when children take on their mother's last name or when daughters inherit property from mothers. It is important to distinguish between the terms matriarchal, matrilineal, and matrilocal. There might be matrilocal and matrilineal societies, which may not necessarily be matriarchal. The Nair community in Kerala in South India is a prime example of matrilocal and matrilineal family. The community, being warriors by profession, was bound to lose male members at youth, leading to a situation where the females managed the family. A traditional Nair family is called a Tarawad or Marumakkathayam family. After an official pre-puberty marriage, each woman received a series of visiting husbands in her room in the Tarawad at night. Her children were all legitimate members of the Tarawad. A traditional Nair Tarawad consists of a mother and her children living together, with their mother's eldest surviving brother, or the eldest surviving maternal uncle, who is called Carnavan. The Carnavan exercises full powers over the affairs of the family. Until recently, the main significance of this system was that the heirs to the property were the women in the family, and the men were only allowed to enjoy the benefits during their lifetime. The naming system of the Nair community had the prefix of their mother's family name. The Marumakkathayam system of Kerala was a legal right which determined inheritance through the female line. In recent years, though, this system is weakening and disappearing under the pressure of patriarchal ideology. Another example is that of the Khasi tribe of Meghalaya. Sons have no right to the ancestral property except in rare cases of there being no female issue in the family. A woman during her lifetime may give her self-acquired property to either her son or her daughter, but if she dies without giving any indication about its disposal, it goes to her youngest daughter. If a woman dies unmarried, her self-acquired property goes to her mother or sister. A Kasi husband goes to live in his wife's house. Kasis, many of whom have become Christian, have the highest literacy rate in India, and Kasi women maintain notable authority in the family and community. I have corrected any altering the original word. 6.3.2 Joint, Extended and Nuclear Families. You have read about the various types of families, which include nuclear, stem, extended and joint families. Rural households tend to be larger on average than urban households, 5.59 to 5.33 members respectively, Shah, 1991, and hence joint households are more numerous in rural than in urban areas. Higher castes in the rural communities have predominantly joint families, whereas the lower castes have more nuclear families. The joint family is predominant among the agricultural caste, who may be landowners. As in most primarily agricultural societies, few individuals can hope to achieve economic security without being part of a cooperating group of kinsmen. The joint family is also common in cities, where kinship ties can be crucial to obtaining scarce jobs or financial assistance. Business families tend to retain joint family arrangements. In an extended family, several generations of one family live together, sharing home and extended family activities. At times, members of the larger family come and stay with their relatives. Also, relatives may live near each other and help each other in distress. The joint family is defined as a group of people who generally live under one roof, eat food cooked at one hearth, hold property in common, participate in common family worship, and are related to each other as a particular type of kindred. 6.3.3 Intercaste and interreligious marriages. Today, many intercaste marriages take place. Intercaste, interregional, and interreligious marriages have become an important element in the making of a new class, which may be called cosmopolitan, Shah, 1998. In recent years, the attitude towards intercaste marriages and interreligious marriages, more for the former, is gradually changing due to changes in the family system, occupational mobility, increasing economic independence of women, an increase in educational levels, urbanization, industrialization, and globalization. Ahuja, 1993. In the initial years, everyday adjustment issues related to language, food habits, religious beliefs, customs and practices may play out more markedly in intercaste marriages. Nevertheless, there is greater accommodation of intercaste rather than interreligious marriages. Families in India are thus classified along several dimensions. Look at the table below. Marriage: monogamous, polygamous, polygynous, polyandrous. Location: patrilocal, virilocal, matrilocal, uxorilocal, avunculocal, neolocal. Authority: patriarchy, matriarchy. Descent and inheritance: patrilineal, matrilineal. Kin composition: nuclear, joint, extended. Let me know. 6.4 The life cycle of household forms. Contrary to the Western practice where the newly married couple sets up an independent household of their own, neolocal, in India many young couples begin their married life not in independent households, but with the husband's parents, patrilocal. All households undergo a developmental cycle. Let us take the example of a nuclear household consisting of a man, his wife, and their unmarried children. With the marriage of the first son, this would develop into a joint household of parents, the married son and his wife, and unmarried children. If there are more sons, the household will expand further with the marriage of each son. In the course of time, the household will be divided into nuclear households. Thus, across different sections of the society, both nuclear and joint households exist at any given point in time. 6.5 Alternate forms of family. Alternate forms of family like single-parent families, woman-headed families, childless families, adoptive families, dual-earner families, step-families, and migrant families have always been in existence in all societies. The fact is that family patterns are found to vary on a continuum, from traditional to non-traditional family patterns. Yet, for a long time, research on family was focused mainly on the traditional stable family pattern, comprising married cohabiting adults and their children. Family sociologists were generally preoccupied with defining and describing the traditional forms of family, which are considered the dominant form in most societies. Barrett, 1994. Can you think of some reasons as to why research and study on alternate family patterns were neglected? Well, one reason for this neglect may be that although the variations in family patterns existed in society, they were fewer in number and hence less visible. Another reason was the bias towards other variant family forms like woman-headed households and their treatment as incomplete, exceptional, and non-traditional patterns of living. This bias resulted from the weak position of women in society and the high value attached to wholeness and stability in marriage and family living. Fortunately, the situation is changing, and the non-traditional family patterns are becoming visible throughout the world and are accepted as alternative family patterns. Barrett, 1994. Let us together understand the alternate forms of family. While you are reading about them, you should make an attempt to think of such families around you to better understand the concept. 6.1 Single-parent families. Single-parent families are those families in which the children reside with one parent who shoulders the major responsibility of their upbringing. A single parent is a parent who cares for one or more children without the assistance of another parent in the home. Single parenthood may occur for a variety of reasons. It could be opted by the parent, as in divorce, adoption, artificial insemination, surrogate motherhood or extramarital unwed pregnancy, migration of one of the parents, or be the result of an unforeseeable occurrence such as death or abandonment by one parent, desertion, long-term imprisonment, or prolonged hospitalization of one of the parents. Single-parent families can be single-father or single-mother families, permanent or temporary, and involve the physical absence of a parent. Fig 6.7 Single-parent family. Single parents are more vulnerable to stressful life events and everyday strains and have fewer resources for coping with stress. In most cases, the single parent has to also play the role of the missing parent. It is important for the single parent to undergo a process of role distribution to adjust adequately to the existing situation. Maintaining contact with the non-custodial parent is a major issue for the single parent in the case of divorce or separation. Women who are uneducated and have not entered the productive labor force before becoming a single parent face more financial problems compared to women who may have their own income. Single fathers, on the other hand, realize that being a full-time parent requires a surprising amount of time and skills, and they might have to alter their work schedules, curtail job responsibilities, and adjust to a decrease in income. This does not turn out to be very difficult for men who continue to live with their family of orientation after separation, divorce, or the death of the spouse. Single parenting is healthy where it is opted for rather than when forced upon. Single parenting may be a stage of life rather than a lifelong family form. There is a possibility that individuals remarry and form a step-family. There are more women single parents compared to men. If single parenting is a result of separation and divorce, children are more likely to stay with the mother. 6.5.2 Woman-headed households. As single-parent families are mainly headed by women, they are also referred to as women-headed households. It is important to understand the difference between the two terms, that is, single-parent families and woman-headed households. You already know that single-parent families imply the absence of either parent due to the reasons mentioned above, but a woman-headed household, on the other hand, generally refers to those families where women are heads of the families by virtue of their main earner status. The woman's role as the economic provider, regardless of the presence or absence of the male at home, is central to the definition of a woman-headed household. A woman-headed household may not necessarily be a single-parent family. Another important difference between the two is that a woman-headed household may or may not have children. Fig 6.8 Woman-headed family. 6.53 Childless families. Childlessness is a term that refers to a person, couple, or family that does not have any children. Childlessness may be the result of 1. Medical condition, infertility or other health problems that would prevent them from having children. 2. A deliberate choice, Some people are childless by choice. They do not see the absence of having a child as lacking in any way. 3. Circumstances. Some people are childless by circumstance, meaning that they have not made a conscious choice to never have children, nor is there any medical condition preventing them from having children. They may be childless while pursuing a career, or are simply delaying child rearing until they are financially stable. They may also want children, but are single or partnered with somebody who is ambivalent or against having children. Whether the family is childless out of deliberate choice, circumstance, or infertility, it is always associated with stigma. Children are primarily considered a social obligation and a support system for old age. The Indian society views childless families as incomplete and inferior. The burden of stigma rests with the entire family, but more with the woman. Sometimes being childless undermines any other merits or achievements that a woman might have. If the couple is childless due to a medical problem with the husband, it is still the wife who is blamed in most cases. Women face a lot of pressure to produce a biological child and undergo all kinds of treatments to bear a child. They may also opt for adoption, surrogacy, or in vitro fertilization. 6.5.4 Adoptive families. Procreation is the natural process by which a family of parents and children is created. Such a family is called a biological family. This is the predominant type of family found in society. However, a family may also come into existence by a socio-legal process. In adoptive families, childless couples adopt a child or children from known or unknown backgrounds. Adoption is the legal act of permanently placing a child with a parent or parents other than the biological mother or father. An adoption order has the effect of severing the parental responsibilities and rights of the birth parents and transferring those responsibilities and rights to the adoptive parents. After the finalization of an adoption, there is no legal difference between adopted children and those born to the parents. Fig. 6.9 Adoptive family. Adopted children usually become family members after the couples have tried unsuccessfully for an extended period of time to bear their own children. Another reason could be where a child is found abandoned and its family cannot be traced. Often people adopt out of compassion, sometimes motivated by religious or philosophical conviction. Others may choose to adopt instead of creating a new life, to avoid contributing to perceived overpopulation. Sometimes people choose to adopt if they are single, never married, divorced, separated/widowed. Many children are older at the time of their adoption, while some are newborn. When children are adopted at a young age, it is easier for them to accept the culture of the family in which they are reared. Very young children will not even be aware of their adoptive status till the time when their parents or someone else discloses this to the child. When children are adopted at an older age, they are mostly aware of their adoption. It is essential to disclose the adoption status to children who are unaware of it in a positive manner. Children who may grow up thinking that they are the biological children of their parents may be shattered to learn the fact that they are not. At times, it may happen that childless couples have their own child a few years after the adoption. At this juncture, it is important that parents are not biased towards the adopted child, and that they do not provide unjust or differential treatment to the adopted child. Fig. 6.10 Adoptive family. Adopting children in India is not an easy matter. In most cases, it is the last resort when couples are unable to have their own children. Sometimes, children of one's sibling or a close relative are adopted. There are many myths associated with adoption, such as the adopted children will never be really yours, and you can never love them as much as your own children. Mature adults can and do love their adopted children quite as much as any they might bear. Loving or not loving an adopted child is more a state of mind which needs to be cultivated. 6.5.5 Dual-earner families. In dual-earner families, both wife and husband pursue uninterrupted lifelong careers while establishing and developing a family lifestyle that often includes children. Gilbert, 1985. Careers typically require a high degree of personal commitment and often provide individuals with a sense of progressive achievement by offering the chance to obtain promotions or other accomplishments. The term dual career, is restricted to a small proportion in which both wife and husband have professional or managerial positions. In today's society, economic conditions, couple preferences, and family needs have created many dual-earner families. According to Hood, 1986, 3 types of dual-earner families have emerged. These are: 1. Main secondary earners. The family relies on the second income for improving the quality of life. The possibility always exists that the wife can or will quit work in the future. 2. Co-earners. The 2 incomes and expenses are pooled, and the wife cannot quit work because her income is needed to sustain the desired standard of living. 3. Ambivalent co-earners. There is an acceptance of dependence on the wife's income. The ideas of who is and should be responsible for providing family needs are ambivalent. A number of critical factors promote the formation of dual-earner families. These factors include the desire of the families to achieve higher levels of living, women wanting to work outside the home for self-fulfillment and financial independence, technological advances that freed women from constraints of household work, and the desire of families for security in the event of the husband's low-paid job or loss of job. Indian families still dwell on the concept of separate worlds of work and family for men and women. That is, men are associated with productive labor, while women are associated with reproductive labor. Ideally, members of dual-earner families are expected to share household chores and responsibilities in a relatively egalitarian manner. But in most cases, the concept of traditional divisions of labor compels a woman to play multiple roles, which involve managing home as well as employment. In dual-earner families, stress is caused by multiple or conflicting work, marital, and parenting roles. Playing multiple roles can result in work overload, family problems, and problems at work. Dual-earner families are many times faced with the question of whose career is a priority. Most people, including women, believe that the husband's job is more important and that he should be the main financial provider. The attitude of the husband and other family members toward the employed woman is very crucial. Traditional stereotypic gender attitudes are likely to augment the burden on the woman. 6.5.6 Reconstituted step families. A step family is a family which is formed through remarriage after divorce or widowhood. In step families, both the husband and the wife, or at least one of them, has children from a previous marriage. Step families have been given many names like binuclear, integrated, complicated, merged, reconstituted, blended, or combined. Step families have a complex structure. There are many different combinations of roles and relationships, making step families quite different from nuclear families, but also from each other. Step families are composed of 2 or more previously separate systems. Relationship boundaries may be porous. Children will spend a great deal of time with each biological parent. Due to children transitioning between 2 households, the boundaries are often unclear and permeable. This may create uncertainty in affiliation and togetherness and become a source of stress. A step family is born out of loss. The loss may be plural, that is, loss of family, friends, home, work, school, neighborhood, dreams, etc. At times, grief is a constant companion for all family members in the first few years. Memories of the past, hurt, and disappointments do not fade away quickly and are easily reactivated during some events. Children are particularly impacted by loss, over which they have little control. Successful family integration takes time. The step family is in transition and adjustment takes more time compared to other family forms. The first few years may be turbulent and stressful as the new family seeks to break down barriers between individuals and biological groups. In most cases, there is a biological parent in another household or in the memory of the child. Children have strong emotional ties to each of their biological parents, even if one of them is no more. This is unfortunate, since it calls for a major adjustment difficulty for most children and their parents as well. Loyalty conflicts are very common in step families. Children often feel that the relationship with their custodial parent is threatened by a step-parent's efforts to join the family. Integrating the various subgroups and other family members, like grandparents, in-laws, other relatives, step and biological parents, and children, is the key task for an individual. Step family cohesion is seldom similar to any other family form, especially in the initial years. Negative cultural connotations, social disapproval, taboos and cultural myths often cast a negative shadow on stepfamilies. 6.57 Migrant families. Migration denotes any movement by individuals or families from one location to another, sometimes over long distances or in large groups. Migration can have various forms such as cyclic migration, periodic migration, or permanent migration. Migration can be within the country or across countries. The reasons for migration include poor job, few opportunities, lack of medical care, natural disasters, political fear, not being able to practice one's religion, poor housing facilities, enjoyment, education, better job opportunities, security, and family links. In most cases, it is the husband who migrates and the family, wife, parents, and children prefers to stay back for various reasons, children studying in schools, lack of housing facilities where the husband is migrating, financial crisis, etc. The process of migration is influenced by social, cultural, and economic factors, and its outcomes can be vastly different for men and women, for different groups and different locations. The different types of migrations are as follows. 1. Cyclic migration. Migration that begins and eventually terminates at the initial place of origin. The daily journey to work in a different city or town, or weekly visit to a place for a particular purpose can be termed as cyclic migration. Seasonal migration is a form of cyclic migration wherein an individual migrates to a certain place during a particular season for work or business or any other purpose and returns back to the place of original residence. 2. Periodic migration. A temporary stay away from one's normal place of residence for a substantial period of time. Examples may include persons in military service, students staying in hostels for the purpose of study, migrant labourers, etc. A periodic migration may last up to a duration from 1 year to 5 years or more. 3. Permanent migration. A permanent change in one's residence from one place to another. Change of residence can be to a different city, state, or country. In the case of permanent migration, the individual who moves to a different place may not return to the place of origin. Migration has both negative and positive consequences for migrants and their families. The positive consequences of migration are mostly economic in nature. Migration is accompanied by a social crisis, which mostly affects the family staying back. There may be marital conflicts and breakdown of marital relations due to prolonged separation and lack of communication. Incidents of separation may increase. Intense loneliness, anxiety, and pressures of child-rearing and domestic chores are factors which contribute to emotional stress that affects the entire family. There may also be incidences of extramarital affairs and overindulgence in alcohol. For the family in which all family members migrate together, there is a different set of adjustments to be made. Children have to adjust themselves in new schools and make new friends. Individuals have to rebuild their social network. Other family members who have no choice but to migrate might face limited opportunities at the place of destination. For example, the woman may be compelled to give up a well-paying, stable job to move with the husband. There is a possibility that she might not find a similar job at the place where she has migrated. The case profile given below may help you to understand the scenario better. Rajiv lived with his wife Geeta and children in a small town. Rajiv was a very strict father and did not allow his children to do anything without his permission. Geeta spent the whole day cooking meals and taking care of family members with no time for herself, which she never realized. She was happy and content with her schedule of the day. One day, Rajiv got a new job in a metro city with almost double the salary than what he was getting at present. Rajiv decided to move with his family, but both his children were in the prime of their careers and chose to stay back. His wife also chose to stay with the children as she had a large network of friends, which she did not want to lose at this age. Rajiv lived away for almost 4 years. In the initial years, it was a difficult time for all 4 of them, as it was a close-knit family. Eventually, all started living a life of their own. The children did what they liked. Geeta now had all the time to herself. Having the newspaper to herself while having her morning tea was a delightful experience. It was not that they did not miss each other. One day, after 4 years, Rajiv decides to come back with the family. The reunion made everyone happy initially, but later they realized that they had all learned to live without each other. It was very difficult for the children to ask for permission for petty matters once again. On her part, Geeta did not want to let go of her leisure time, which she had just started enjoying. Rajiv started feeling that he is unwanted. 6.6. What is disintegrating? Joint family or joint household? In the contemporary context, an oft-repeated comment is that the joint family is disintegrating. However, it is not the joint family, but the joint household that may be disintegrating. After reading the definitions of family and household in the earlier part of this unit, you must be clear that a joint family need not be a joint household, and co-residence is not a necessary condition for making a joint family. You also know that a household is a residential unit, which is distinct from family. Even when all the members of the genealogical unit do not share the same hearth and residence, they may still be bound by a number of activities and ties, and hence may constitute a joint family. Joint family is a multifunctional group and is defined from various dimensions by different specialists. If you look at the various definitions of joint family below, then you will realize that all Indian families are joint in one way or the other. According to Iravati Karve, 1999, joint family is a group of people who generally live under one roof, who eat the food cooked at one hearth, who hold property in common, who participate in common family worship, and who are related to each other as some particular type of kindred. According to IP Desai 2005, we cannot place emphasis on common kitchen and residence as dimensions of jointness. It is important for two families having kinship relationships that are living separately to function under one authority in order to constitute a joint family. According to Gore, 1968, a joint family consists of a man and his wife, their adult sons, their wives and children, and younger children of the parental couple. Joint family as a social system has particular roles, relationships, authority structure, division of labor, bonds of duties and responsibilities, apart from the rules regarding common hearth, residence, property ownership, and performance of rites and rituals. It is important to understand that one definition of joint family may vary from another, which makes it difficult to decide who and what makes a joint family. Also, it is essential to note the difference between a joint family and a joint household. Families are breaking up into smaller household units, but the jointness is still retained in most cases. The structure may be changing, but the family remains joint in the functions of the members towards each other. Yet, most Indians still believe that it is desirable to live in a joint family, and whenever they separate, they try to justify their conduct as genuine. Any family separation might bring with it guilt, fault, and blame. A relatively well-institutionalized point of family division is reached when the old parental couple dies. At this stage, the partition is permissible. However, under the present circumstances, it is difficult for joint households to perpetuate. There are both physical and psychological limitations to the continuation of the joint family. The joint family may structurally break up due to the following reasons. Growth in family size leads to per capita deterioration of the family's economic condition. Growth in family size leads to per capita deterioration of the family's economic condition, which may make it necessary for some members to seek work outside family occupation. If the employment opportunities are plentiful outside the family, then there will be a greater tendency for the family to fall apart. When quarrels and tensions overpower the economic factor, there might be bitterness and disturbance in family peace. After the death of the father, when the joint property is not large, the family may break up purely due to economic reasons. When children get married, the couple may choose to live in a different household to maintain peace and harmony and for seeking freedom and independence. It is important to note that at times the family does not disintegrate totally. There are different levels in the process. For example, the family members may no longer eat together, or they may build walls inside the compound of the house or partition the ancestral property. Considering the above factors, it is clear that functional jointness rather than structural jointness is a better factor that decides the degree of jointness in Indian families. Desai, 1955, has developed certain indices to measure the functional jointness of families, irrespective of their residence or living arrangement, stating that co-residence and commensality are neither adequate nor reliable criteria for judging the type of family. The joint family sentiment does not vanish with residential separation. The jointness of separated units consists in the rights and obligations of the members of different units towards one another and in feelings of oneness. Example: 9 members of a joint family lived together in a 2-story house. The family comprised the father, his 2 sons, their wives and children. After the death of the father, the 2 sons started living separately on different floors with their families. Their house had a common entrance for both the families. Although they lived apart, they were still very much a part of each other's lives in terms of celebrating different festivals and engaging in joint activities, e.g., celebrating birthdays, financially and during the time of need. The elder brother provided help to the younger brother, and the older children continued to help the younger siblings in studies. Rites and rituals were performed by both the families together. The children of the younger brother spent most of the time watching television at the elder brother's house. Family members still consulted each other in important decisions like change of job, admission, children's marriage, and other issues. Now, what will you call such a family? Will you still say that a family which was once joint turned into a nuclear one after the death of the father? Or will you say that both the families are still as joint as before? The situation is complex and cannot be characterized in absolute terms. There is an increasing trend of young people setting up their own households. More and more individuals are beginning to desire independence and show resistance to conform to the rules and regulations prescribed by the parent generation. Women's emancipation leading to higher educational and career aspirations is yet another factor that is affecting the family or household composition. As a result, there is an interesting trend of families living in separate households and yet maintaining the family ties through regular visits, asking and offering support in times of need, and involvement in significant life events such as marriage or death. In other words, the Indian family tends to function as a unit, even though it consists of residentially separate households. The bonds of joint family are deeply entrenched in the normative Indian value structure, and every effort is made to maintain connections. On the other hand, there are some significant negative implications of the changing structures, such as lack of care for the aged parents, conflicts related to property or inheritance, problems of suicide, and crimes during adolescence. An alternate structure that has evolved is that of a modified extended family. Such a family type does not demand geographical proximity or occupational involvement and does not have a hierarchical authority structure. This new family form encourages frequent visits, financial assistance, aid and support in childcare and household chores, and involvement and participation in life cycle events such as births, marriages, deaths, and festival celebrations. The familial and kinship bonds are thus maintained and sustained. Even in the more modern and nuclear families in contemporary India, many functional extensions of the traditional joint family have been retained, and the nuclear family is strongly embedded in the extended kinship matrix. In spite of the numerous changes and adaptations to a pseudo-Western culture and a move toward the nuclear family among the middle and upper classes, the modified extended family is preferred and is likely to continue to prevail in modern India. In this unit, we studied that although the definition and meaning of family keeps changing, the family continues to play its various roles like procreation, socialization, providing affection, emotional and economic support. Household is simply one dimension of family and refers only to a residential unit. Persons staying together in one residential unit need not be necessarily family members. The traditional forms of family are classified along several dimensions like marriage, location of residence, kin composition, descent and inheritance, and authority. Alternate forms of family like single-parent families, women-headed families, childless families, adoptive families, dual-earner families, step families, migrant families, and modified extended families have always been in existence in all societies and also in India. Joint families in India are disintegrating is a myth. The fact is that only joint households are breaking up into nuclear ones. Functionally, most families are joint in nature till today. Clan, a set of persons tracing a unilinear descent, matrilineal or patrilineal. Conjugal, a group consisting of a man, a woman and their children. Disintegrate, split, break, fragment. Egalitarian, equal. Hearth, fireside, fireplace. Kin, kinship, a terminology used in reference to relatives. A unilinear kin group consisting of persons who can trace descent from a common ancestor through a determinate number of generations.